Welcome to the October episode of Amiga Ireland. I'm Irla.
I'm Rob.
And I'm Luke.
And in today's episode, Tristram Island, an Infocom-like text adventure game for Amiga, Commodore and other platforms.
AmiBlitz 3 gets an update.
And what is a Wayfarer?
And that's in addition to our news, games, music and other sections. Before we get going, guys, how have you been doing?
Pretty busy now. I've got my LED controller project that I've been working on for the last while. That's kind of almost there, ready to order some PCBs from China and build it and see if it actually works in the flesh.
Nice.
And and that's so working on the software for that as well. So I've been pretty busy with that.
Cool.
Yeah. And I rescued a printer from a local place, local pharmacy that was getting remodeled. So I'm very happy with that. Been trying out WordWorth and stuff like that on it, and it's spot on. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Happy days.
Yeah, that's one thing I need to sort out. I got OS 3.1.4 so that I could print on my PCL3 GUI set up here, but I haven't really had proper time to get into it yet, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's something for another time.
Yeah.
I turned on the heat for the first time today. It's a bit of a tragedy, lads. Yeah.
Time for the winter duvet.
I think it was April or May when I last had the heat on, so...
Next step, onesie or hot water bottles.
Yeah. Oh, my wife has the hot water bottles going the whole time. She's gassed.
Yeah.
How about you, Luke? How are you doing?
Well, just busy with my life as well. Every day, just the work. There's one thing. I've managed to acquire a retro PC actually from '96, very very well equipped with Windows 95 installed and a lot of old like Quake dooms and things like that, so that I can compare it with modern Amiga versions.
Cool.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that's that. It's not
Nice.
strictly Amiga, but a retro anyway.
Yeah. Reference machine.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go on to the news. Viva Amiga, the extended remix version, has been updated to Vimeo. This is actually free to backers of David Pleasances' new book, Vultures to Vampires. So if you're a backer, go and check out the link here in our show notes.
The first public release of Amos Professional for AGA machines. So this is an update to Amos Professional from back in the day. It's a basic language, but it's quite well suited to games, but it hasn't supported AGA until now. So this has been in the works for a while, and so we've got it's an alpha version, but it's available to download for anyone who remembers that and wants to get a bit of AGA action in their little games. So yeah, give it a go.
Right, and this one is a really big one. MorphOS 3.14 gets released. This is mainly a maintenance and stability release, but apart from that, brings a lot of multiple technological improvement in the kernel and support of TLS in the exec library, updates to the TCP/IP net stack, and many, many more. Apart from that, it brings something more, which Irla will say.
Yeah, so you must be referring to Wayfarer.
Yes.
Which is a very...
This is really hot news.
Yeah, I was very surprised at what I saw here. So this is a modern web browser. The first beta has just been released for MorphOS 3.14, and it's based on a modern branch of WebKit, and it's possible to browse most of the web that has become off limits for Odyssey, such as Google apps like Docs, Drive, Maps, Street View even. But it also you can access the web interfaces for things like WhatsApp and Telegram. That's just mind-boggling.
And now AmiBlitz 3 has had a big update. So it's there a little while ago. It was sort of sitting unnoticed and unloved in the doldrums, but Guy has picked it up, and it is now this is the second big release that it's had since then. So this 3.8.0 is available on GitHub, and the link is in the show notes. But this makes some major changes to the environment. Gives you a lot of different options for text suggestions, text highlighting, things like line numbers and stuff like that. All different kinds of nice options for auto completion and things like that. But it also does a big cleanup on the command libraries and improves compatibility with older systems of the code that it produces. All around, it's a very, very good release. So, if you're using AmiBlitz, this, especially if it's one of the older versions like 3.6, this is quite an important one because it'll really sort of improve the compatibility of what you write.
Another one is an update again, but this time is the Roadshow 1.14. A lot of you like a pi numbers. Have you noticed that as well? 3.14, 1.14, and so on and so on. So this one is mainly focused on bug fixing, efficiency, stability, adding new functions. Amongst them, there are two very interesting things. The first one is the remote shell and adding new inbuilt shell server as well, which allows to create networks and running through Amiga apps or programs on other computers, as well as exchanging data. So this update is free for download for all registered users.
Wow. I'm a Roadshow user myself, actually, and I think someone in Rob's group has made an interface for it, hasn't they? A GUI interface?
Yes, yeah. Graham made that roadie. So it's a very simple kind of, it's just a basic functionality of on-off, ping, and a couple of other little things like that. So it's not the full-blown, being able to configure interfaces, but for 90% of the things that you actually need, once you have it set up, all you need to do is go online and offline, and that's
it.
That's it, yeah, and it's a great little thing. Great little program for that. And written in Blitz Basic, actually.
Yeah, you can download it from Aminet as far as I remember, and it gets updated once in a while.
Well, also available on Aminet is... oh, damn it. Right, Fractal Voyager 1.1 has been released for OS4, MorphOS and AROS. This is a fractal explorer for educational purposes. You can export your image to PNG and also save the parameters used to create it for later reference. It supports Julia, Mandelbrot and Multibrot sets. And new features added recently include more graphics resolutions as well as increased efficiency. Nice.
One for the fixers out there, Diagrom has had another update. So this is version 1.2.1. So it's a relatively minor update, but it fixes a few key bugs that caused issues. For example, when you were, if you tried to boot Diagrom and it didn't find RAM, it would try and detect an A1200 accelerator, and that would make it fall over on machines like the 3000, 4000. And there are a couple of other little fixes like that are kind of, just basically improving the hardware detection and the RAM detection. So, it'll be quite useful for anyone who's doing some low-level repairs or building re-Amigas.
Another one is a very interesting thing. It's just a tiny program, but might be very useful. We've got AmiDock, as far as I remember, from Amiga 3.9. We've got Tool Manager, as far as I remember, and it also requires, I think, at least Kickstart 2.1 or 2.05, but this WbDock or Workbench dock is a classic dock for Amiga, but with the minimal requirements. It'll run even on Amiga equipped with the Kickstart 1.3, which I think I haven't seen any dock for Workbench 1.3. Have you guys?
No. Well, definitely not a graphical one, because I think this one takes the icons, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So this is a pretty interesting thing to see, especially if you're used to using dock, just like, for example, me, and I just, I like it, and I've got it everywhere whenever I use it. I've got it on my all Amigas. I've got it on my Ubuntu Linux. I've got on my Manjaro Linux as well. Not to mention, of course, OS X.
Mm-hmm. And that's from Thomas Rapp. And I think this guy's
Thomas
great.
Rapp. That's right. He's good. He's
no
really
messing. Good. There's no nonsense about it. Like his website's been the same for about 20 years, but he has some very, very excellent tools for for anything from the likes of that, and simple tools for earlier Amigas to repairing your hard drive and RDB fixing tools and stuff. He's got some incredibly useful stuff on his website, so check it out.
Very pragmatic guy.
Yeah.
And speaking of pragmatic guys, Krzysztof Radzikowski has created a book detailing the perfect installation and configuration of Amiga OS 3.1.4, whether that's on emulation or Raspberry Pi or on a real Amiga. You can follow the link we have here in the show notes to watch a review in English and request an English version of the book. Now, he's also created a helpful ISO with some hard-to-get software and some other useful utilities that should really be a part of your 3.1.4 installation. And the aim is really just to make a great system with networking, multimedia, and more. And he takes you through it all, and it looks absolutely excellent.
And another little useful tool, especially if you like listening to SIDs. MiniSID Player has been released for OS 4 and MorphOS. Also, there's a version for 8K CPUs. However, it requires FPU. If you, just like me, like an addict, if it comes to listening to a Commodore C64 music, you'll find this little an app very useful as just like me.
Yeah, me too. I still like SIDs.
Yeah, I like them a lot.
Okay, let's move on to the games. NC Shooter has been ported to AROS with versions already available for 68K. It's a very impressive text-based vertical shooter from Poland, and the only dependency, as far as I can see, is having ncurses installed, and we have a link to some downloads for that here.
Magica has been released for the A500. Now, I haven't played this myself, but it's a single screen platformer, so you know the type, and it looks beautiful, and and it looks like it'll be a lot of fun. So I'll have to have a look at that. But I believe it was originally an Amstrad game or a Speccy game or something like that.
It was an Amstrad release. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's made its way onto the Amiga, and it's running on the Amiga 500.
Shadow of Sergoth is a great RPG game, actually, with beautiful graphics and great music. And a demo of first level actually can be downloaded, so you can actually see for yourself how it actually runs, and it runs pretty alright. It's been written in Amos, and then it requires OCS ECS chipset, and when you run it on a pure 68K processor, I think it's just a little bit too slow. You need some sort of at least fast RAM and 020 to feel the climate, the atmosphere, and the fluid motion of the main character.
Tristram Island is an Infocom-like text adventure game, and they're selling this, but you can download a demo to try out if you'd like. And they have binaries for almost every Commodore machine imaginable, including the Plus 4 and the Amiga. So that's well worth checking it out if you enjoy text adventures like I do.
ScumVM has been updated, and it's updated to 2.2.0. So that has, if you don't know what ScumVM is, it's basically a sort of an interpreter for adventure games. So the Monkey Island kind of point and click games. And it started out as that, and it's grown into a sort of a multi-adventure engine reconstruction, basically. So what it does is it'll take the data files from point and click adventures and lets you play them on machines that they was never running on originally. So Monkey Island is the big, the Monkey Island series is the big one, but they're constantly updating it to work with more and more games, and the latest release adds a few more games, like some of the later Ultimate games, and and there are a few other additions to the list there. But it's like it opens it up to it can open up like a huge catalog of older games that that wouldn't otherwise run on the hardware, and you'd either need an emulator. So it's kind of it's a nice thing that that's not quite an emulator because it still runs the code, but it's it's an engine, it's a replacement engine for the games. But that's available for MorphOS and OS4. I'm not sure if the 68K version got an update, because I know it is quite a heavy program. But basically it's actually impressive to see that the OS4 and MorphOS versions are downloadable from the official website, which is cool.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, okay. I was wondering when I saw that link there, I was thinking that doesn't look right.
Yeah, no, it's actually if you go to the download section, it has and for Haiku and for basically every platform you can think of.
every possible platform you can think of. Even with PlayStation Portable, PlayStation Vita, Atari. I think Falcon with its an incarnation of Mint, and then nearly everything. Nintendo Wii, you name it, they've got it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, very good one. Very, very good. A lot of hardware has been put into this engine,
Yeah.
Right. Another one is Another World for C64. An early preview gets released. You can see, the first level of the game being ported to C64. Some time ago, this guy has he managed actually to port the intro, and he did a really great job. And right now he's working on the first level, and it looks really good. I'm just wondering, because I remember first attempts of Another World being ported to C64 somewhere around 95, and I remember I was reading it in a Polish magazine, Commodore and Amiga, and then slowly it disappeared as the popularity of C64 at that time started to fade. So I'm really glad to see this coming, and I'm really hoping this is just a first step towards, for example, maybe Flashback being ported to C64. That is just a must.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you look at the video, it's it is incredible. How it looks so far. Wow.
Yeah,
it's impressive.
Okay, let's move on to discoveries.
Right, so my first discovery is J Miner's speech from 1990, released actually by Amiga Bill. He found the tapes in his garage. The tapes belonged to his father, so he managed to clean them and release this speech of J Miner. And he talks about Amiga 3000, and he talks about different projects. And if you haven't seen it, please have a look. It's a part of our heritage and our history if it comes to Amiga.
Wow. The Final Fight Turrican 2 has had an excellent tribute by Vultures, and I don't know if you've heard it yet, guys, but it's basically a mixture of electronic and rock together. There've been some other really good versions of this, including by Banjo Gaiali. But this one is really rocking. We might even play it with it actually today. Have you heard it, guys?
I haven't, no.
No, I haven't either.
Okay. Later on.
Okay, let's play out with it. And thanks to Vultures for permission to use it in the episode.
Now, this is a thing that is kind of grown out of basically an argument as to whether it could be done or not. But there's a Doom clone that's being developed for the Amiga 500. And every so often it gets, there's another little update, and they've managed to glean a few new CPU cycles out of it, and change something else to get some other texture working and stuff like that. And it really, really looks the business now. And it's called Dread, and there's a new preview video after being released. And now what they've done in this one is, and when I saw this, I thought this is incredible. They've basically redrawn the hand weapon. So up until now, basically the hand that you see in front of you that bobs around, in Doom, it didn't look great, and it kind of, it basically sort of it didn't look the full shilling really, but
it didn't look right. It spoiled the pleasure of playing. This
exactly, yeah. It's and I can't quite explain it, but it looked like sort of. It looked like it was sort of like a mesh or something like that, and like every second pixel was missing or whatever.
Very heavily dithered, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So now they've been redrawn, and it looks. It really changes, even if nothing else has changed. It changes the sort of the initial impression of the game. It changes how it looks the whole time, and it's like this is very, very impressive stuff that this runs on a 500.
Yeah, I couldn't believe what I was seeing there. The amount of detail. I mean, to try and to even just have the sort of ambition to go and try and do something like that on a 500, and to go into that amount of detail and get the amount of performance and graphics out of it that they're doing is just, I don't think I've seen anything like it.
I haven't seen anything like it before either, to be honest. That's the KK. He's just absolutely brilliant coder. I think he started first with some sort of a demo, I remember, and the demo was for 500. And it had the fastest ever engine, the 3D engine that I've ever seen, And then I think from that moment, when people have noticed him on the demo scene, they kept asking, when are you going to release Wolfenstein? So he went even further and started working on Doom.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of like detail of squeezing, every possible piece of, performance out of it. It reminds me of listening to Octoberfecked talking about making the Settlers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
like he fanned out in every direction possible to get as many characters on the screen, as many little settler sprites on the screen as possible, as many
details. Yeah,
to get the absolute, to milk the machine for everything it can possibly offer.
That's it.
And it seems like it's the same here.
Yeah.
Right, guys. Do you read newspapers? Do you still read newspapers? Do you buy newspapers?
No, not really. I probably should, but I don't really. I read some online.
What about you, Rob?
Yeah, it doesn't really happen much, but yeah, it's the same story. You read articles online and stuff, but that's it.
Can you believe that recently Guardian, the British newspaper, has announced that Amiga is actually a second best computer ever. It's some sort of a list of computers, through ages, and then Amiga gets the second place, which is, I think, not too bad at all.
Not too bad at all. Yeah, absolutely. This was a funny thing because when this came out, whatever it was, a week or so ago, I be sort of going around a few different retro communities and stuff like that, and just having a look. But every single one of them sort of burst out in this angry posts from everyone saying, "Oh my god, I can't believe X platform wasn't the top one." Well, no, you can't all be right. and anyway, it's an opinion piece, so that's just get over it.
That's right.
But it was very funny, I can't believe the Spectrum wasn't the top computer ever. And what?
Yeah.
But and it even happened a bit in the Amiga community. I can't believe it was only number 2. But the top one was the PC, and like it or loathe it, it's it has had probably the most significant impact on humanity of any computer platform, because look at it, just look at it. Everything uses it. So, you don't have to like it, but I think it's actually a relatively well thought out list, and I think, the Amiga did well to get up there, I think they made a lot of good points in it, for all the platforms. Well worth a read.
Yeah.
I must give that a read, because I'm surprised the Amiga showed up at all, because there are so many devices now. You could, even in the last 10 years, you could easily cut off before you get back to the 90s,
Yeah. But it should be pointed out, of course, that they're not counting consoles. So, all the, the NES, Mega Drive, SNES, PlayStation, all that kind of stuff is kind of, that's it. But this is really sort of home computers, or computers, in that kind of sense,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Pretty good read, I must say.
Absolutely.
I've read it, and it's a pretty good read.
Yeah.
Lovely. Okay, let's move on to Ask Amiga. So I have a PCL 3 GUI printer.
Mm-hmm.
And, before I got 3.1.4, I was told, you'd download Turbo Print and that'll make it work. And it didn't. It didn't work. I couldn't get it going. And now that 3.1.4 supposedly supports that spec, I'm wondering, what is the direct route, and does it matter if I try it wirelessly or not?
Well, yeah, like the thing is, you've got a couple of different layers. You've got your sort of, your low level hardware interface layer, and you've got your higher level protocol layer. And so, traditionally the Amiga has the parallel port for the low level stuff, but you can essentially transport that over whatever means you want and whatever means the printer supports. So like I was saying earlier, I rescued this printer from a shop that was being redone, and it's a Brother laser printer, but it has all sorts of fantastic emulation options. And I used it in my old job, or I used a similar one in my old job for old MS-DOS machines. So I knew it had this great support. And so you can just go through the menus and set it to be an old Epson printer or an old HP printer or whatever. And so you set it to a HP LaserJet, plug in the Amiga, and it works. But it also has a network port, it has USB, and it has a parallel port, which is unusual these days. And you can, no matter what way you connect the Amiga to it, you use the same driver. So you've got the same printer driver, but the device driver changes basically based on how it's connected. So the top layer, the printer driver stays the same, and you just use the HP LaserJet or PCL one or whatever driver you happen to be using. And then to print over wireless, there's a net print device, and there are a couple of other. There's a net LPT device and stuff like that as well. So, but these are basically your low level transport, and they effectively behave the same as the parallel port. So you can print to it even with an old driver, and it will think it's printing to, let's say, the parallel port, but it will take it and transmit it over the wireless, over the network or whatever to your printer. So by and large, they generally work quite well. If you have issues, like one of the issues with older versions of Workbench was that you couldn't easily intercept the parallel port calls. It assumed you were using the parallel port, so you needed some dodgy patches and stuff like that to make that work. But from 3.5 on, I think, and 3.9, 3.1.4, you can specify the device for the low level transport. So you can change your parallel.device, which is what I used before, and swap it out and put in USB parallel device or netprint.device or whatever else. And then your driver will send to that instead of the parallel port. And then it should just magically work. You've got, if you've got the right driver for the printer, that's kind of the right, printer driver for the printer. That's kind of a key thing. And because new printers, especially the common sort of, your average inkjet printer that you get, doesn't get much support, and it usually has a sort of a kind of a custom type of language on it, and usually it's just made for Windows to do most of the processing and send the data to the printer, and that makes them cheap to make and cheap to dispose of and all that kind of stuff. But if you can get a printer that supports one of the more like PostScript or PCL or whatever, and you can find a driver that works with that, then you should be able to print very, very well with it.
Yeah, okay.
There are ways of even translating, like the Amiga can do pretty good PostScript output. And there are ways of taking that and translating it even if your printer doesn't support PostScript. So, for example, you can use, I had it set up on Windows XP that I have a really lovely photographic printer. Like it's borderline professional stuff, and it breaks my heart putting ink in it because it's so bloody expensive. But it's a lovely printer. But it was Windows only or Mac only. And so what I had set up years ago was I had a little, like a stack of software running on Windows that basically set up a virtual printer. And the printer would accept PostScript. Then it would use a script to run Ghost script and translate that PostScript to graphics. And then my printer would print it. And that worked actually really well. So you just share the printer on Windows. And you can use the same thing, or you can do a very similar thing on Linux with Guttenprint.
Samba, is it?
Yeah. Well, you can use Samba for the network end of it, yeah, but to share it. but used like a good and print driver and GhostScript and do all the translation layer as well. So you can do that and then just share it. And so the Amiga sees a PostScript printer on the network using NetPrint or whatever. And so it gets to the other computer, and you can even use a Raspberry Pi for this. I've seen people do that. Like, so have like a little mini print server on your network. And yes, and that will translate the PostScript that the Amiga sends to whatever format the printer will use. And then that's a nice workaround and let you use modern printers. I kind of, when I think it was, I had that running on XP, and when I moved to Windows 7, that just stopped working, and I could not get it working on Windows 7. Hence the new printer I have now. Well, I have both of them here now, the Windows only one and this one. But I have to say the brother one's fantastic because the Amiga can print to it directly, and that's like, yeah, it's a godsend for some stuff. I'm thinking like, how often am I realistically going to use it? But there's occasions when I would be printing something out, a diagram or whatever, and I'd say, this would be just so much easier if I could just print from the Amiga. So
yeah, I'd actually make a lot more documents and spreadsheets on the Amiga if I knew that when I need to print, which is rare enough, but if I knew that when I need to print, I could print it. That's actually the thing that's stopping me using it more. Absolutely,
so, yeah, back in the day, I had an Epson Stylus 460, I think, or 640. But anyway, it was one of the Epson inkjets, and there is a printer in Workbench for it. But I had TurboPrint. I actually bought TurboPrint at the time, and it was fantastic. It came with an amazing graphics publisher that the likes of which is still not really an easy thing to get on Windows. It's like you just you drag your images in, you drag them around and resize them on the page, and you click print, and it's just fantastic. Like, and the quality was amazing, and it was just. It was just a business, but sadly, the newer printers don't have drivers like that. But yeah, if you can get it working reliably and get your output sorted, it is a really, really still viable with a few workarounds. But yeah, just for printing a quick document, it's fantastic. And yeah, when I'm speaking of PostScript, typically that's used for black and white stuff, but there are color PostScript printers, and the Amiga has a color PostScript driver, so you can print to that as well, so you can still print in full color. With 3.9 and 3.1.4, I'm pretty sure it supports full 24-bit color, but before that it was only 12-bit color. So from 3.1 and down. Yeah, there you go. So there's a little bit of fiddling to be done depending on the printer, but in general, it's still still quite viable.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for that, Rob. I'm going to give it another go. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have a serial or a parallel port or anything like that on it. I think the options are just USB or wireless. And yeah. I don't have USB on my Amiga. So I suppose I'll try and do it wirelessly if I can.
Yeah.
And
if it uses the standard wireless protocols, like it shares itself like a Samba printer, that should be no different to using a shared printer. On any other setup, like so.
Actually, that might be the problem. Actually, because on Mac and on Linux, you have to install the HP toolbox to find the printer. As far as I know,
that might be the issue. Yeah,
because I was just using that on Linux to find the IP address of the printer, trying to print to it, and of course it didn't work. So that must be okay. So maybe the newer PCL3 printers are a bit harder to connect to.
Well. Yeah, because you might need USB on your Amiga then. But if you do have...
And HP Toolbox, possibly. Oh, no, not if I've... Yeah.
Well, yeah, it'd be interesting to see if it does show up as a network printer once you install that, or if you can get Linux drivers for it, that can... there might be sort of an open source HP Toolbox equivalent, But it'd be worth looking into, though, because once you can share that like a standard computer, even if it is on the Mac, you should be able to print to it from the Amiga wirelessly. Just using the Mac as a host, for example, plugged in with USB there.
Yeah, that's actually sounding like the more likely option. Okay. Thanks, Rob.
No worries.
And that's it for this month. Music was by Virtual Dimensions and Banjo Gayali.
Did we miss anything this month? Let us know on Twitter, Facebook, or you can email info@amigausers.ie.
And this episode is edited by Anthony Jarvis.
the one and only. And we're playing out with Turrican 2, the final fight by Volker X, and thanks to Volker X for permission to play this. Hope you enjoy, and we'll see you in next month's episode. Bye-bye.
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 I'm on another spreadsheet.
From the 8.
Yeah.